What's up, world? Today we're talking about a very sad day. Um, if you are a big fan of metal, um, basically the godfather of metal has passed away, also known as the Prince of Darkness, yada yada yada, Ozzy Osbourne. He died at 76. There's not a whole lot of information on how he died just yet, but he passed away today. Very sad day. Probably one of the most iconic and unique musicians of our time. And it's hurts because he's just such a big part of my life. Such a big part of a lot of people's lives. And it's just, man, it's really hard to talk about right now, but I mean, I remember I I didn't you know I didn't what am I trying to say? I'm trying to direct my thoughts right now because it's a little difficult. But I think the thing first album I've ever heard from Ozzy Osbourne was Bark at the Moon, was it? Something like that. It's an amazing album. He had, I mean, his collection, his work, and just everything that he's done is, it's always been amazing. I've always loved how he sang. A lot of people say, well, he didn't have a big range, or I don't care. He was a unique voice. His voice was just his own, and he just was able to. I just got kind of got caught doing this, a little bit, because I was driving up by Griffith Auditorium. You get no signal up there, but I was listening to the radio, and they started talking about Ozzy Osbourne. And they were talking with somebody who worked with him for years. I don't know who they were talking about. Somebody else from another band. And I was like, what's this? What are they talking about? What's this? And yeah, it turns out that Ozzy passed away today. I'm just like shocked. I know a lot of people, like maybe some younger people or whatever, may not care or understand. I don't know why you're on this video if you don't, because this video is about Ozzy Osbourne passing away today. But don't know. Maybe I'm introducing you to somebody new. I don't know. If I am, please go listen to Ozzy Osbourne, specifically his early stuff. And oh my god, it's crazy. I don't know. Does anybody else out there kind of feel the same, where it's just like you don't know what to think? I don't really know what to think. I mean, has it even? I mean, it's kind of like I'm kind of like, hasn't really hit me yet, but it's just like so strange to hear this. Yeah, they were on TV. Yeah, they had their own reality show. Ozzy Osbourne and his family had his own. I mean, they're all a big icon, right? Especially I think it was the '90s when they came out with their live show. Yeah, absolutely. Brian Wilson is going to meet his brother. Oh yeah, Brian Wilson too. Yes, absolutely. That wasn't too long ago. I mean, yeah, rip Ozzy Osbourne, absolutely, man. This is a tough one, man. This is like one of those tough ones that are like, some stars pass away, and you're like, maybe you didn't have a connection with them. You're like, ah, that's terrible. But then, like, some of these stars pass away, and you had a stronger connection with, and you're like, no. So, I mean, yeah, it's hard, man. I mean, 76, obviously, Ozzy Osbourne kind of, he had a pretty he was a heavy partier. Just about every musician that's ever talked about Ozzy have always said that Ozzy was just beyond like anything else that anybody else they've ever partied with. And the guy could just, a lot of early rock and roll and drugs and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people would say that Ozzy was just, you know, he could handle his stuff, I guess is what I'm saying. So I mean, if he made it to 76, I mean, you know, but like it's crazy, that I don't know, when you hear it, you're like, no, wait, what? It's like doesn't even register. What happened to Ozzy? He passed away today. You look. We're not talking about. I mean, regardless of what I look like, we're not talking about politics today, man. So you can just like, I don't know, shove it. I'm not talking about politics, man. Yeah, Theo from Cosby Show is gone. He drowned. That was just yesterday. I did a little post on that too. Um, and that's just like, yeah, it's one of those times again. I hope not. Where it's just like, that was about a year ago or so that it just seemed like a lot of stars just kind of all went around the same time. And here we are again, like, oh man, slow down, slow down. Yeah, rest in peace, Ozzy. I mean, Godfather of metal, man. It's really. I want to see if it still touches back on the original stuff that they talk about he and his bandmates created.
All right. Thank you so much. That is Seth Shackner, former Sony Music executive
Trying
and
to listen.
founding of Strat Americas. We'll be right back.
I don't know if I can listen to a radio if that gets flagged or not. I just want to hear, like, I'm trying to figure out what he died of. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but just trying to figure out. Okay, it's at a commercial now, but they've been talking about it like since like 10, 15 minutes ago, and that was the first time I was informed. And I was like, what? Um, and then I was up at the Griffith Auditorium, and I tried to go live up there because that's where I heard it, and there was no connection. So I had to drive down the hill to get connection to jump on here and talk about this. Um, I mean, like, who doesn't love a Black Sabbath, man? I don't know if you're into metal. Like, I'm sure there's some people out there that may not like them, but I mean, for the most part, how can you not love Black Sabbath? You know, if you're into metal and if you're into rock, how can you not like that? How can you not like early like Ozzy Osbourne? Just like when he went on his own, it's just like, I don't know, man. He's such an iconic guy. I don't really have much more to say. I don't have like any more information. I'm listening to the radio, but
Over an estimated.
I don't know. I don't want to get copyrighted here. I'm trying to figure out why he died. If anybody knows out there why what he passed away from. I don't know. It's a little too soon. They don't usually release that kind of stuff until much later, so probably not going to find out today what he passed away from. I mean, like I said, the guy was known to be like a really like heavy partier. We'll put it that way. I don't want to get too far into the like the details just because Uber likes to try to keep things somewhat family friendly, but let's face it, man. Ozzy Osbourne did a lot of fucking drugs, man. The dude was like, from what I hear, like just a monster when it came to that. Uh, a lot of other heavy hitters like Motley Crue talk about Ozzy. Like, I, the guy's just insane when he like just outlasts everybody. Everybody else would be crashed out and couldn't do anything more, and Ozzy's like, "What's going on? It's party, guys." He's just like still wants to go at it. And I mean that's just the stories. You know, and you think to yourself, how the f did Ozzy die, but Keith Richards is still walking around? Like, it's so crazy. Like, Keith Richards is a like an enigma. He's like what like how is Keith Richards still walking around? And look, I want Keith Richards to live forever. I think Keith Richards is probably God, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I will say that like it is insane to me. I don't, like how old is Keith Richards? Has got to be in the 80s, right? Or he's very close to his 80s, or is he like well into his 80s? I don't know. I know he's up there, but yeah, 76. Man, I wish I had vinyl albums like back in the day. Just go home and throw on an album and just sit there and listen to Ozzy, anything Ozzy. Um, I really love this style. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I always really dug it. I always thought, man, when you hear Ozzy singing, you know it's Ozzy. He wasn't like generic. He wasn't like a generic dude. He was just like he was his own thing. You hear him and you're like, that's Ozzy right there. Um, uh, yeah, I don't know what else to really say about him other than he was just such an iconic and amazing artist, singer. you know, Black Sabbath, amazing, heavy, and amazing stuff to listen to. And even though a lot of people like associated Black Sabbath with like evil and destruction, it wasn't, man. It was like they were talking about real life. I mean, they were talking about like real life things, whether they were using like mystical things here and there. That's not the point. Like the point was to like kind of you know talk about real life. And I mean, if you listen to those lyrics, you're like, that's pretty dark, but it's like real shit that happened. Yeah, and same with Ozzy. A lot of people, because he bit the bat off, he bit the head off of a bat or whatever. He said he thought it was a rubber bat. That story has been like thrown around so many different ways. People say that like, oh, I was just super high at the time and thought it was a rubber bat and whatever, blah blah blah. And it's just like that's one of the stories that's always been talked about, like when it comes to Ozzy Osbourne. But it's like, I don't know, dude. He's on stage. He's putting on a show. Just give the guy a break, man. I don't know. When you're on stage and you're in your zone, you do things. You do things that are wild and make people go, what the. I mean, if anybody's ever been in a band, if anybody's ever played in a band, you know what I'm talking about. Um, let's see. I hate the text on YouTube Live. Hey, please, someone confirm. Oh, he's passed away. I mean, it's all over the radio. Is he really gone? Why haven't I heard this elsewhere? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I was listening to the news. I was up in at Griffith Park, and it came on. They it almost like they didn't even say that he passed away at first. They were just already talking about him as if he was gone. So I might have turned on the radio, and they were I drive a lot, so I listen to the radio a lot, and I listen to the news a lot because I mean I love music, but a lot of times radio music is just they're it's so repetitive. So I listen to a lot of news, and they started talking about him like he was already gone, and I'm like, are they talking about Ozzy? Like, and sure enough, yeah, they were talking about Ozzy, and I was like, what the? And I was gonna jump on. I was gonna jump on up there. I was gonna jump up on up there at Griffith Park, the observatory. It's way up there on the hill here in L.A. And that's where I was. And I was like, oh, I couldn't because I had no reception up there. There was nothing. I couldn't jump on. I'm like, no, I want to jump on. I need to talk about this because it's like it's such a big deal. It's like I don't know if you don't understand how big of a deal it is that Ozzy Osbourne has passed away. Then I don't know what to tell you. He just maybe been living under the rock. And look, Ozzy Osbourne he hasn't really been in the news, but like everybody mostly everybody knows who he is. I would assume. I don't know. Of course, a lot of people don't like. I'm sure there's a lot of people that just don't care. Like newer generation. Some people maybe in the generation will care. Maybe some other people won't. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he's a household like uh name in the new generations. You know, it's like, but a lot of people aren't appreciated until they're gone. And so I don't know. I'm rambling here. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole thing because it is really just like it's crazy to me. But he was 76. So I mean, I don't know. It just sucks. It just sucks. It doesn't matter like how he went or what age he went. It sucks. He could have been 83, 85, could have been 90, and I'd be like, no, so it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, what age he was and what took him. It sucks. That's the end of the day. It sucks. All right, let me see if I can.
The mainstream industry, rock critics.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that.
Does anybody know if I'm playing a news station, if that's going to be copyrighted?
From the start, and now those records are celebrated as classics. They're considered really important documents in the evolution of rock and roll, and certainly the original metal albums. Every metal band.
I mean, it's confirmed. Somebody just asked earlier, can somebody please confirm it? They're still talking about it on the radio, and they're talking about him. He's gone. I mean, he's passed away today. What he passed away from, like I said, I don't know. I'm trying to listen to the news to kind of figure out what it was.
Influence on the way on his development. Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine. He loved that band. Yeah, growing up.
When was the last time you talked to Ozzy? And if you don't mind me asking, what'd you talk about?
I mean, there was various points in his career that I talked to him, and almost every one of those points, he was, he was just like, okay, I've been given another day. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay, so he's saying that when he was talking to Ozzy Osbourne, I don't know who they're talking to here, but it said that he would talk to Ozzy Osbourne, and the reporter asked, what would he say? And Ozzy Osbourne apparently said, I was given another day. Apparently, he's talking about him recently. Given another day to live is what he's talking about. So,
Was the industry telling you you can't listen to this. This is bad for you.
I remember. Here's the thing.
And
I do remember like in the '80s. That this is something that a lot of people need to understand. In the '80s, the America was very. Bear with me. This is about Ozzy. Ozzy's a part of this, but in the '80s, we were very conservative, kind of like what we are now a little bit, because we had Ronald Reagan, and so um, we also had a lot of priests or preachers or televangelists, whatever you call those, basically church on TV. Okay, that was a huge thing that really blew up in the '80s, probably like mid '80s or so, and so we had the Satanic Panic, and there was a lot of people. And I was, I don't want to get too personal with me, but I was religious when I was younger. I was, a kid and stuff. Um, and I kind of got wrapped up in that Satanic Panic type stuff, and I would go to like Bible camps and stuff like that. And Bible camps are fun. I'm not like they're fun and they're great, like social things and stuff like that. Thing is like they would also these Satanic Panic, like church, like camp Bible camps. They would also, you would have a lot of fun doing stuff, activities with a bunch of kids, but in between that at night you would always have service. And the thing that they would direct it at us, because we were kids and we liked Smurfs and we liked blah blah blah, we liked cartoons, we liked He-Man and stuff like that. But some of us liked Ozzy Osbourne or ACDC, and so we were told that this was all evil. This was like the work of the devil. Um, and I remember because I was going, I went outside of the church of what my dad was going to, and so I would go with my best friend to a church, and we'd go to these camps, and we were told stuff is evil and Satan and da, 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 da. And of course people always thought Ozzy was just like this evil, like mad scientist guy, and I I just enjoyed his music. I don't know. I liked his music. I never thought of him as an evil person, like, but I was a little kid. I kind of, I had like, a little easy to manipulate kids sometimes. And I remember for a while there, I was like, yeah, this stuff's evil now, uh, and then I went back to, that lasted for a week. And I went back to listening to like Ozzy and ACDC and stuff, even though it was evil. It was evil, according to a lot of people. And because I went back to listening to a lot of these bands, and I loved like rock and roll and metal and heavy metal and stuff. I love this stuff. Uh, my friend, who was still on the idea that everything was evil, started calling me, saying stuff like I was going to go to hell if I kept on listening to this. So I then went to a pastor at my dad's church that I kind of left because it was boring. There was no kids my age there, so I started going to another church. But anyway, I then went to somebody who I trusted, and I went up to my dad's pastor, and he took me out for a donut because he kind of caught wind that people were saying that I was evil because I was listening to Ozzy Osbourne and AC/DC and stuff and Metallica. Ooh, and so took me out to a donut, and we sat there, and he's like, well, what's going on? I said, well, I still listen to rock, and a good friend of mine and his family are saying that I'm evil for doing that. I'm doing the devil's work because I'm listening to this stuff. And I said, do you think I'm gonna go to hell? And he told me, he's like, listen, he's like, you're not gonna go to hell. A lot of people kind of overreact. This is a preacher telling me this. He's like, a lot of people in a lot of different branches and stuff will overreact about things. And he says, as long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're having fun and not hurting anybody, you're fine. And he eased my mind, and I was like, whew, because I didn't know, man. But anyway, yeah, it was a little point in my life where I was like listening to, like, people were telling me listening to Ozzy Osbourne was this evil thing, and it's like it was a short part of my life. I kind of just like moved on from that whole like thing, and it was like, I don't care what you think about me. I like this music. Um, so yeah, there's Satanic Panic. That was a real thing for people in the '80s. If you were an '80s child of any part of the '80s, you probably got wrapped up or knew about Satanic Panic. But and that was my early years of, like, you know, I don't know, loving rock and roll and metal and punk and all that stuff. I don't know. I just always liked the stuff. Leave me alone. Like, it's because I listened to it. I'm evil. No, 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 no. I'm fine. You're the one that's got the problem. So let's hear. Let's see if that's a commercial. I was gonna go back on the radio and see if they're talking about maybe what he passed away from. But anyway, that's my story. I don't know. That's just something I wanted to talk about, I guess, because just I got nothing else to say right now about Ozzy and his passing because I don't know anything else. My heart goes out to the family. My heart goes out to the Ozzy family, the Ozzy Osbourne family, the Osbourne family, because it is a tough thing to lose a parent, to lose a spouse, to lose an uncle, whatever he was to anybody. That has got to be hard, and I hope my condolences to all of them for my condolences. Rest in peace, Ozzy. I don't really have too much more to say. I'm gonna see if I can some language I don't understand. Hello. I went through this in the early 80s. Oh, you did? You went through that? Hey, what's up? Kevin, welcome, man. One of my mods showed up. What? Thank you, Kevin. I have a lot of mods out there now, but some of them show up, sometimes they don't. But thank you, Kevin. Yeah. So yeah, you had the Satanic Panic thing. It's like the people who tell you Halloween. Yes, I got a lot of that too, even though everybody celebrated Halloween anyway. You had a lot of that, like, dark forces. These dark forces are for blah, 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 blah. It's like people are still trying to do that. It's not as televised anymore. I think because the focus isn't so strong anymore. You know what I'm saying, Kevin? When sounds like maybe we're roughly around the same age. I don't know how old you are, but anyway, you had a part of the '80s. That's the point, and because the focus back in the '80s was TV, MTV, cable TV. TV was it. There was no internet. Cell phones didn't come out for another, I don't know, depending on what part of the '80s, for another 6 years. So we didn't have all that stuff, and so the TV was a way to kind of, well, what am I trying to get at? I guess people's minds weren't as like that's separated. What am I trying to say? Split into different things. Nowadays, you have the internet, you have phones, you have TV still, but not the. I guess what I'm saying is nowadays I think it's harder for people to do the Satanic Panic. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I could be wrong on that. Maybe it's easier to do it. I don't know. But back in the day, back in the '80s, when everything was so conservative, it was a little easier to kind of like, kind of push that narrative. Whereas I feel like today there's so many different media out there that I don't know. I think it's harder to push a narrative. Although I think I might be wrong on that because now I'm thinking there are a lot of weird. I'm thinking this in my head. I'm like arguing in my head right now. I'm like I don't know. Maybe that's not true because there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there being pushed, and it seems like maybe it's easier. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I do know that the '80s was a very special time. The '80s was a very it was definitely a decade of change for better or worse. I'm not saying it was good or bad. I was a kid. I didn't care. I wasn't into politics then. Ronald Reagan was the president. Now I have my opinions of Ronald Reagan, which I'm not going to share on this channel. But back then I didn't have any opinions. I was a kid. I didn't vote. I didn't care. you know, but I do know now looking back why the '80s were the way the '80s were. I mean, you had the rise of AIDS, you had the rise of all kinds of like crazy things. I lived in California. I grew up in California. Back then in the '80s, there were parts of California you would not step foot in. Nowadays, not as bad. It's not actually the violence have gone way down. Despite what a lot of people are saying about California, if you compare it to the '80s, it is much better. I don't care what anybody says because I lived over by kind of close to San Francisco. There was parts of San Francisco you wouldn't step foot in. Nowadays, well, I mean, San Francisco is going through a little weird moment right now. But outside of that, this weird moment we're going through, it got a lot better, and the violence is still down, regardless of how bad it looks in some places. But anyway, um, yeah, I mean, the '80s with the Satanic Panic was crazy. I mean, it was nuts. Now that I look back at it, we were told about all kinds of like Iron Maiden and Eddie. Remember the drawings of Eddie and stuff like that. And this is becoming a whole different thing right now. This video is kind of like morphing into like my life in the '80s, and I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to stick to Ozzy. Um, but anyway, yeah, I'm going on off on a tangent, but um, let's see what else anybody else saying. Phone's all cracked up. Uh, yeah. This isn't really about hell or heaven. I'm not really trying to get into this, but uh, the music industry was called to DC because of the lyrics they used. Guys, this isn't about MAGA. This isn't about like political stuff. This is about Ozzy passing away. I'm really not trying to get into political stuff. I was only bringing up the fact that like Ronald Reagan was president because it was just kind of encapsulates the era of because Ronald Reagan was a very conservative uh, cabinet. I mean, it was a very the presidency was very this is rip. There we go. Let's get back to rest in peace Ozzy. Absolutely, rest in peace Ozzy. And like I said, my heart goes out to his family. Um, my heart goes out to his kids and his wife. But despite the fact that like we have our differences and stuff. Like, I don't know. Music is music. Ozzy was very, very unique. He was awesome. I loved his voice. Kind of mastered his own style. And I really don't have much more to say, guys. Like I said, my heart goes out to Ozzy's family. And yeah, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Um, will never be forgotten, at least by, by your fans. And hopefully maybe a whole host of new people, a lot of people get rediscovered when they pass away. So maybe a lot more people are going to come in and rediscover, Ozzy, and maybe something will happen there because of the way music is these days. You have the different distribution type. People don't really listen to the radio unless you drive a lot, like I do. People usually listen to Spotify. So Spotify has been reintroducing a lot of old stuff that younger generations are listening to, and they become number one. There was a couple of songs that from way back that became very popular again and became number one because people are discovering it again. People don't listen to the radio. They don't know. They can't find this stuff unless it's shown to them. A lot of them, So when they are on Spotify and something pops up from the old days and people are like, what is this? This is awesome, That's cool. It's a cool thing because I want people to hear different genres and different eras because there's a lot of good music out there that a lot of people aren't really getting exposed to anymore, Anyway, I don't really have that much more to say about Ozzy Osbourne. I appreciate you all coming. You know what? The Ozfest, they were talking about that. I don't know. I mean, if there's enough bands that play, I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't bring back Ozfest. That would be kind of cool. Um, Kind of cool to see some of the older bands jump on, like Metallica. That'd be pretty awesome. And maybe do like a tribute thing to them. Something's like that's gonna happen. Like I'm almost guaranteeing like Guns N' Roses and Metallica, maybe even ACDC, will jump in and do something because I mean Ozzy is such a force, such a force in the music industry that I find it hard to believe that nobody's gonna do anything. It'd be awesome. It would. It would be awesome if they brought that back, even if it's just for one time. Bet you they are lining up right now. I bet you. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I bet you, like, Hetfield's calling like, you know, Axl Rose or something or whatever, and be like, "Hey, man, we got to do something." Um, Maybe somebody's calling up Brian Johnson. Who knows, man? I don't know. It would be awesome to see like a bunch of heavy metal rockers come out and perform, and God, I would love to go to that. I'd go to that. I'm considering how much money I had, of course, and how much the tickets were. I would love to go to it. Would I be able to afford it? That's another story. That's another story. But yeah, that would be great. I think that would be a great idea, Kevin. If they at least did like the final farewell or something like that of Ozzy, and they just did an Ozfest, just kind of like a tribute. Oh God, that'd be cool. Maybe I ought to, Kevin. Maybe you, because you're the one that brought it up. Maybe you should do a like some kind of GoFundMe or something. Get these people thinking. Yeah, rest in peace. Absolutely. Yeah, rest in peace to Easy E as well. A lot of great musicians. Anyway, I got nothing else to say at this point other than rest in peace, Ozzy. My condolences. My heart goes out to their family. I hope. Uh, I hope all is well as much as it can be. Anyway, and let's hope that you know. Let's hope for that Ozfest, man. Now I'm kind of excited about something that hasn't even been talked about, but something's got to happen. I think they will. I think they'll do something. Ozzy is just too big of an icon for people not to do anything. You know, I think you know he's he's just such a staple in music, and him and Black Sabbath together have just like changed music. I mean, they're at least one of the first to really come out with kind of like this really dark feeling music that was so different at the time. And yeah, anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. Have a good one. Um, and whatever you're doing, you have a good day. You too, Kevin. Rest in peace, Ozzy. Guys, take care. Thank you for joining me. And I am working on, by the way, real quick, I am working on a video right now. The reason why this video is taking so long to come out is just because I'm reading like books. I'm reading all these like I'm getting my information from books and not from like uh Google search or whatever, because Google search and even AI oftentimes get a lot of stuff wrong. So stay tuned. I will have a new I'm not going to say what it is right now, but it is in line with my channel, and it'll still be a while before it comes out. But I am working on it. That's all I want to say right now. I might put out some smaller videos before this one comes out, just because this one's taking so long. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. Rest in peace, Ozzy, and thank you for joining me. It kind of helped me kind of talk this out, and um, yeah, it just kind of helped me mentally. So thank you guys. I appreciate it, and I hope all your guys' day goes well. All right, see you when I see you guys. See you when I'm gonna wave and wait. Let's do this. Bye. See you when I see you. See you when I see you guys.